episode 8 of the Bunker Sports Podcast. I am, of course, and always your host, Brock Sanders. And at the Bunker, we give controversial takes from a secluded place. Today, I am with, as usual, for these UFC discussions, a UFC connoisseur and the go-to guy for this pod, honestly, on all things outside of hockey, though we might bring him on for a hockey show, who knows. It is my best friend and now co-host for these UFC things, Jamie Shults.
Good to be here again.
Of course. How you been, bud?
Been good.
The UFC's been kind of on a tear of crazy storylines, you know, with Adesanya losing, Oliveira backing out due to injury, and a whole lot of movement up and down the leaderboard, and Volkanovski, picking up that fight on 10 days notice?
Yeah,
almost?
10 days.
And out of all the storylines, kind of what's your thought going into, UFC 296 next week?
Well, I don't know. There's been a lot of upsets this year. A lot has been changing. A lot of belts changing in and out. So I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps continuing. I think this is going to be one of the last stellar cards of the year, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see.
You don't think that there's going to be a really good card for the Christmas card?
I know there's supposed to be another good card, but I think this is a better card than the other one. What's the next one? So they got So
the next card, or this is 297.
Yeah, see, they just got another fight night. What's after Song and Gutierrez? Oh, okay. So that's the fight night.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. So, yeah, this is the last. Yeah, this is the last. Oh, so I was under the impression that because of the, what is it, the Ultimate Fighter Contender Series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was under the impression that they were going to try to put Chandler versus McGregor on a card at the end of the year, that they were trying to, but nothing came to fruition.
So that's supposed to be how it goes, or how it was supposed to go, but they had all this USADA BS with Conor McGregor and all that stuff, and then now USADA's not even their drug testing thing at the end of the year. They're using, I don't even know who they're using now. They're still doing drug testing, but they're just not using USADA, and I think it's because of the Conor McGregor thing. So I think they want to get Conor McGregor going on a fight as soon as possible. Do you think that Conor McGregor,
spoke with Dana about the partnership with USADA and
I think it was more of USADA was like, no, the dude needs to go through 6 months of testing, because they had this issue with Brock Lesnar fighting somebody when he was coming back from WWE, and they fast-tracked him immediately for a title shot. Well, everybody was like, that dude needs to be tested. Well, he wasn't tested. And so they just kind of fast-tracked him, and a lot of people think he was on steroids and, stuff like that. So I think USADA was like, nah, we're not doing that. That's not what we're about. 6 months of clean test for him to be able to fight. And I don't think in their time frame that they wanted Conor McGregor to fight, it was going to happen within 6 months that they wanted it to happen. But by now, if he would have been in the testing pool, they could have already made the card. So that's what's kind of frustrating as a UFC watcher, is we could have been already had the fight card that he was on, but I think they want to put him on 300 now.
That would be the difference.
That's it, at this point now is kind of what a lot of people are thinking, but I don't know if he's fighting Chandler, if he's fighting somebody else. He's doing stare downs with Peter Yan now at some boxing event, which is all for show, but I really don't know what's going on. I don't even think UFC really knows what is going on with all that, to be honest, because it seems like it's just a cluster.
So the partnership with USADA is done?
At the end of the year, they're done. They got another drug testing organization. It's some United States-based thing. I don't know what exactly it is, what their name is. I heard it the other day, but I'd never heard of them.
Well, do you think that, I guess that they wouldn't do this 6 month testing period with this new drug agency? They probably only do maybe 3 months, if not less, maybe.
I don't know, because there was a lot of controversy with USADA because they didn't let fighters use some peptide stuff, which doesn't. A lot of people were like, that's BS because that helps a fighter. That doesn't help a fighter so much to where they would, have a advantage over their, the person that they're fighting. It's all recovery stuff, whatever this peptide stuff. I've heard Joe Rogan talk about it, and he's like, it's just BS. It's like the same thing with stem cells. Like they can't do stem cells or something. Or no, my bad. The U.S. legally doesn't allow you to do a certain amount of stem cells, so that's why a lot of people go to like Mexico or something. Like Tijuana has a big hub for stem cells and getting stem cells in your back and knees or whatever.
And that just speeds up recovery. Essentially.
That's literally all it does. So it's kind of like that with the peptides, where a lot of people are like, no, like that's BS. Like it's not like steroids where it makes you stronger or makes you, be able to go a longer distance and stuff like that with like respiratory, whatever it's called,
I don't know. I can kind of see both tails of it, I guess, just looking from the outside. Like, yeah, it's good because then you get more fights. You get fighters that can do honestly what Volkanovski's been doing, which is just like quick turnarounds.
Yeah.
But also in the same sense, you could have a fighter, and I guess it's on the fighter, to do that, because if a fighter doesn't want to do that, but he's fighting somebody who is, that opponent the fighter who is not doing these peptides or the stem cells is going to be at a significant disadvantage, probably because they just take longer to recover. They can't train as hard because the recovery time is so drastic.
Right.
But I mean, like, the other side of that is like, it's all up to that fighter. If it's readily available to everybody, you should use it if it's legal and if it's safe and if everybody else honestly is doing it and it's safe.
Right, and that was the thing with USADA is like people were like, this is new stuff that genuinely helps people in their longevity as a fighter, just career-wise. Like, why are we not allowing fighters to do that? And that's where I'm kind of like, okay, well, no, I get it. Like, I get why you didn't, like USADA, because they weren't up to date with things and stuff like that. And that, I think that's where the frustration was with USADA, is that they were like, nope, this is our rules. This is, what we're going to do. And everybody's like, no, like, you need to update it. Like, it needs to be updated. This is not, the 1990s or whatever, where we're, where we don't know about all this stuff. All this sports science and medical science and all that stuff is updating year after year after year after year, especially with, UFC growing and just sports in general. It always seems like certain sports are just growing bigger and bigger and bigger every year, which goes into the sports science of everything, and recovery and all that stuff is like you see it in the NBA with guys taking certain games off and stuff to recover or whatever. Well, you could be doing the same thing with that, but fighters aren't fighting 100 times a year or whatever, so it's a little different. But
no, but I mean, you have some fighters, like, for example, Adesanya took how long since 287 to whichever fight that he.
I think it was like
Strickland.
3 months.
Yeah.
It was, and he was knocked out, to going from fighting Pereira again, which was also a quick turnaround. Yeah. And a lot of people were like, dude, you just got knocked out. And it was like 2 or 3 months later, they're like, oh, yeah, he's fighting Pereira. It's like,
but I mean,
oh,
my
God.
That's a marketing push. That's all that
right.
was.
Well, yeah, and it's tough because it's like, yeah, it's marketing. It's good for the sport or whatever. But what about that fighter? He just got knocked out. You gotta concussion protocols and all that stuff. You gotta make sure he's like quite literally mentally okay, not just like his confidence is shot, blah blah blah, and mentally he needs to get better. No, like the dude was knocked out, and that has genuine consequences on somebody's brain. And you get it like with a fighter like Muhammad Ali. That dude was a freaking vegetable at the end of his years, because he got so much head trauma. And that's what, we'll eventually start seeing with the guys that get knocked out a lot and stuff like that. Like Cody Garbrandt, he gets knocked out every time. Well, he used to have a chin on him. Now his chin is shot. We saw that with Chuck Liddell. His chin was the greatest chin in UFC history. He's known for it. And the last couple of fights, he just knocked out. And it's head trauma, and that has a lot to do with the science and all that stuff. All this stuff could help fighters with that longevity for their own life, let alone fighting.
That's like Tony Ferguson, who transitioning into to 296, which Ferguson is fighting Paddy Pimblett, and the last few fights that I've seen Ferguson in, it's just getting knocked out.
Yeah, his chin's just not there. It's kind of concerning when you see fighters that used to be able to take massive amounts of damage just completely make a 180, and it's like, oh my god, dude, he can't even get touched. Which, I think most people would have been knocked out by Michael Chandler with that kick, where he went completely limp and got made a meme out of. So I wouldn't say necessarily that was showing his chin, but just the other fights is just like, dude, come on, man. Like, there needs to be a better way of dealing with fighters like that, in my opinion. And I think that's what they're trying to do with USADA, and just overall dealing with fighters and recovery and all that stuff.
I'm curious if they're gonna, or if any research has been done. And it's difficult to really do research on CTE because the only way you can find out is
as of now is after they're dead.
Yeah, but you hear a lot of it in the NFL, but at least I haven't heard much of it from UFC, where CTE is like a significant problem, and those guys get hit in the head, like maybe not as consistently as NFL players, but NFL players have helmets,
right?
With the sports science and sports equipment advancements, like helmets are getting better, but these guys are duking it out with nothing more but a little bit of padding on their knuckles.
Well, we see it with John Jones, or we saw it with John Jones, and he got in that car wreck, and he was all drunk and slurring on his words and stuff, and he got arrested. It was like slamming his head on the cop's hood, like, of his car, and like crying and shit like that, and everybody's like, dude, that's got to be CTE. And you can kind of start seeing signs, they say, is like they become more what's the word, like where they just act on instinct kind of deal, like they don't
trigger, like aggressive trigger.
Yeah, kind of. I forgot, a lot of, they say this with like ADD people, where they just don't really necessarily think about what they're doing, they just do it. Forgot what it's called, but
like their intrusive thoughts now become like
their actions.
Their actions.
And we kind of saw that with John Jones, and Dana White said is like, you can't bring John Jones to Las Vegas because every time something would happen. That night that he got arrested, he was getting an award for UFC's Legends, basically. I forgot what it's called. But he got an award for like always being in the UFC, being the legend that he was. And that night he got drunk, drove, DUI, slamming his head on the car hood and all that stuff. And that's when, shit, we see it with his brother. His brother's going psycho.
Because, you talking about Chandler Jones?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah. He's got CTE. Bad.
And it's just, it sucks because, it leads into the USADA thing. It's like, what can we do that helps fighters like that? And it's just, I don't know what they could do for that. Obviously, I'm not no scientist or anything, but it feels like we could do something for brain trauma and head trauma to prevent that.
Because, I don't know if you can even, you probably could, just not safely, inject stem cells, to try and get into that, into the brain, into the spinal cord. There's nothing really to, if you do that, you're risking paralyzation. You're risking, turning guys into pure vegetables on the level of Muhammad Ali. I don't know. I agree that, USADA doesn't need to be stuck in the past, because with sports science, athletes are getting bigger, faster, stronger, and you can see it drastically. Reverting back to NFL, you only saw one Megatron, and he was just dominant at his size. Now you got 3 other wide receivers in the NFL that are the exact same almost, and it's just sports science and sport technology is readily advancing. And it just blows my mind that a company as big as USADA that's partnered with the UFC doesn't want to change that. And become a sole partner of the UFC in that facet, because they probably could if they wanted to advance. And,
They 100% could, but it's like they're stuck in their ways. They don't want to admit that, hey, we should be advancing our rules and all that stuff, and it gets fighters in trouble and stuff like that with tainted supplements or whatever it is. It's bad. It sucks, but we'll see how it goes with them not being in USADA. I think it's going to be better, and I think there's going to be a lot more diversity with fights and stuff like that, and I think we're going to see a lot of better fights with better fighters without USADA, in my opinion. But we'll see.
Yeah. Going into UFC 296, taking a look at the card, and it's a massive welterweight card for this. There's 3 welterweight out of the 5 main card events. There's 2 title fights on top of what we mentioned prior with Ferguson versus Patty, which is going to be a fun one to watch. I feel like this one with Ferguson and Patty is another stepping stone, I guess, for Patty. And Tony Ferguson, sad as it may be, has turned into the stepping stone guy. You saw it with Chandler. So it's sad to see, but if the guy wants to keep on fighting, he's got the name, and it's a good branch for upcoming fighters that want to get into the top of the rankings and then inevitably do belt fights.
Right. Well, what sucks about that with Tony Ferguson and Patty is like whether Patty wins or loses. If he loses to Tony Ferguson, everybody's like, "Oh man, you got beat up by 0-7 dude in the last couple years or whatever." And then if he does win, they're like, "Oh, you just beat up an old man who was 0-7, whatever." So like for Patty, in my opinion, that was a stupid fight to take or even make, because they're obviously trying to push Patty Pimblett up. And we saw in the Gordon fight, his last fight, where that left overhand or hook, whatever it was, he got clipped like 4 or 5 times with it. He shouldn't have won his last fight at all whatsoever, but he won it, over and done with. But I feel bad for Patty in this instance because, like I said, whether he wins or loses this fight, he gets no recognition at all whatsoever because Tony Ferguson's reputation is just going downhill so bad every time. But he has to win this fight. If he loses to Tony Ferguson, he's no longer the stepping stone or the guy that they're trying to bring up anymore. He's got the personality to come back, but he was already getting kind of crapped on by everybody for his last fight. And then again, if he loses this fight, he's going to lose a lot of fans over it.
Do you think he does lose this fight?
Oh man, my head says no, just because it's Tony Ferguson. But Tony Ferguson he's just a dog even now, bro. He's training with David Goggins, and David Goggins said he's the only person to fully even finish his little training session that he does with other people. He said he's done it with so many people, football players, basketball players, all this stuff, and they quit after like the first or second day, and they're like, "Oh well, I gotta go do this or that or whatever." And David Goggins just like laughs and is like, "Oh no, it's okay. You bitched out. It's whatever." So he was talking about Tony Ferguson. He was like, "Tony's a dog, man. He finished it. He's the only one to finish it." So that gives me hope with him against Patty Pimblett. I would love to see him beat Patty Pimblett, but I don't know if training with David Goggins and kettlebells is really going to make a difference when you get hit in the head. If it was a long distance training, run or whatever it was, I think Tony would have him by a long shot. But this is fighting. Anything can happen though. So
I say one clip, one counter. You saw it with O'Malley and Sterling. When we were watching that fight, legitimately I thought it was a 50-50, still leaning more Sterling, honestly. I was kind of sweating a little bit. I put money on that, and I still thought it was leaning more towards Sterling. And then it was the counter. I believe it was the counter with the right and then clip with the left.
Yeah,
it might have been vice versa, but it was one punch and game over.
Yeah, 100%. That's all it takes. We see it all the time with upsets. It's all the time with upsets. It only takes one punch, one mistake by somebody to just completely leave themselves wide open. And like you said, we saw that with Sterling and Sean O'Malley. Sterling charged in, was completely wide open. Sean countered him, and I mean, you can see it when they do the slow motion. Sterling reaches in, and he sees the punch coming, and all he can do is just close his eyes and just kind of like brace for the impact because he can't do anything about it. And he's halfway through the punch. He's like, I'm about to get hit. And I mean, that's what happened. So well, maybe that's what's going to happen. I don't know if Tony's got the power that he used to have, but we'll see. I'm really excited for that fight. I just hope I don't get let down. Like within 10 seconds he gets knocked out or something like that. That's my only worry is like if it goes the distance, I honestly think Tony's got it. I think Patty has to knock out Tony to get any kind of respect or anything like that. Just to show that he's the dominant fighter in that fight. If it goes the distance, he's going to lose fans, whether he wins or loses. And I think if it goes the distance, I think Tony's got it, personally.
I was going to say that even if Patty wins in decision, I think that this is going to tank whatever reputation he's built with himself. I don't think that he'll maybe get another main card, fight somewhere down the line, but I don't think it's going to be, close to what he needs to in that weight class to kind of get that title shot. And honestly, looking at the lines, Patty's minus 340 odds to win the fight, and from what we've been talking about, I mean, that's a wide
Yeah, yeah. You're not going to win a whole lot of money betting on Patty right now.
Well, I mean, no, it's also in your benefit to bet Tony. Just throw like a $2, $3, outright bet on Tony just to see if it hits, so you can get that plus 270 odd value. I mean, that's just if it goes the distance, I agree. Like it doesn't. I don't think as long as Tony just doesn't get his ass kicked. I mean,
right. That's the only thing.
I think that he's got a good shot. Based off of work ethic and name alone, that he might actually pull it out if it goes the distance. Yeah. So it'll be a fun fight. That's the one one when looking at the card, because all the other guys, what I've seen with the UFC is a lot of the heavy hitter guys, in Adesanya's class as well as Volkanovski's class, and I've gotten a little bit into John Jones's class. That's one's a little bit tougher because it's all, from what I've seen, top heavy, right? With the heavyweight.
With heavyweights, they're just swinging. Yeah. You don't see a whole lot of grappling or anything in heavyweights, which is why heavyweight fights are so fun, because they just stand there and bang. And that's why everybody loves the heavyweight fights, because it's just a big old boxing match with some big old dudes that hit hard as hell. That's why people liked watching Francis Ngannou, because it's like, okay, it's kind of like the Mike Tyson fights back in the day. Like my stepdad said, they pay for a card for Mike Tyson to fight when he was younger. They be cooking or whatever, come back in, and Mike Tyson's already knocked the dude out within like the 30 seconds. They're like, oh, okay. And that's how it was with Francis Ngannou. You're just kind of on your seat waiting for that one shot to connect. And that's why I love heavyweight fights, because they just swing so hard. Shit, we saw it with Tom Aspinall. I watched the fight last night for the first time. I didn't get to watch that card, and I was like, holy crap, because he beat not Pavlovich, is that his name? Sergey Pavlovich, with one punch. It takes one punch, dude. It's awesome. I love, this is why I like UFC and all that stuff, and single, that's the difference that I like these versus like team sports. Somebody in UFC wins because they won, not because I mean, you take football or something like that. CeeDee Lamb might have the best game of his entire career, but they lose the game by 3 touchdowns or whatever, and CeeDee's sitting over here with 200 rushing or passing yards and a touchdown and all kinds of stuff like that. And that's why I like UFC so much, is like, if you win, you won because you won and your team prepared correctly and did what y'all needed to do. And that's why I like stuff like that, because it's fun. It's harder to predict because it's fighting. Anything can happen. It takes one punch. So,
do you think it's going to be a heavy hitter for this top main card belt fight? Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. You think it's going to be those type of things? I know welterweight is a little bit further away from heavyweight, so you're going to see a little bit more grappling, but I'm not familiar with Leon Edwards' style. I remember watching a little bit of his fight with Kamaru Usman, I believe, and I remember watching a little bit, and then I know I watched the. It was a knockout, right? Yeah. I remember I watched the knockout, and it was a big deal because Kamaru Usman was like this big top dog
Yeah,
guy.
I mean, he was the scary guy of the division, and everybody looked at him and was like, dude, how are we going to defeat him? Because he was just one of those people. And that was one of those deals where it takes one shot, last 30 seconds. Leon Edwards was getting his ass kicked. 100%. And that takes one mistake from Kamaru Usman of kind of letting his guard down and being like, okay, well, I got this. I got 30 more seconds. Bang. Ow. So,
it was a leg kick, right?
Yeah, it was a jab, and then he followed up with his left or right foot, whatever it was. He followed it up with a head kick, and we saw it with Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. It was the exact same thing. And I think Oliveira did it, or it happened to Oliveira. Oh no, Oliveira did it to Beneil Dariush in like the first minute or something like that. It was a jab and then kick followed right after it. And it's like, for whatever reason, that's the combo that people just can't see. They see the punch coming and they cover up for the punch, and then that foot just comes right behind their ear and just knocks them out. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that happen again with Colby Covington and Leon. Colby Covington, he's literally known for how well he does in every single round, every single fight. He's just relentless. He doesn't give up. He doesn't get tired. And really, I think that's the only thing that he's got going for him is just his tenacity for every fight. But I just don't see him winning. If Leon can keep it standing up, that's how Leon wins, and I think he knocks Colby out.
But do you think if it goes to the distance?
If it goes to distance, I think
Covington's got a chance because of that style of play where it's just constant in your face, significant strikes racking up, and that sense.
Yeah, I mean, Colby fights like a wrestler because he's a wrestler, obviously, but he doesn't. His boxing isn't anything special. All he does is take you down to the ground and just hold you there. He barely even like ground and pound. Like he'll throw punches and elbows and stuff like that so that they don't just stand the fighters up. But that's why Colby Covington isn't super fun to watch, especially if it's not like a big name, which he's only fighting big names now. But like we saw it with Jorge, all he did was just take him down to the ground and just keep him there. If you can't get up, I mean, that's your fault. But that's a good thing about Leon is that the second fight with Kamaru Usman, that's what Kamaru Usman tried to do, and his defense was really good in that fight, and I think it's going to be just as good, if not better, against Colby Covington. And I think he knows that Colby Covington is just going to go shot for shot for shot for shot, trying to take him down. And I would hope that that's what he's preparing for. And in my opinion, I'd be preparing to counter his takedown shots. We saw it with Derek Lewis fighting somebody a couple months ago. Oh, Curtis Blades. He didn't do anything, didn't throw nothing. He waited for Curtis Blades to come in and just uppercut him straight to the forehead. Dude was snoring. So if I was Colby's coach or anything like that, I'd be trying to set something up like that when he shoots in for a shot, uppercut, knee, something, try and knock him out doing that. Because he that's all he's going to do. I would bet that's all he does is just try and take him down. Because that's all Colby's got. If it stays standing, I mean, Colby ain't going to do nothing standing. So that's my take on it. If it goes the distance and Colby can keep him down on the ground, it's Colby's fight all night, every day.
So why do you think it's like the lines right now? And I mean, it's early. They haven't even opened up any round betting yet, and they probably won't open that up until probably next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's fairly close. It's minus 148 odds in Leon Edwards' favor. But is it because Colby Covington's like takedown ability and wrestling background that it's so close?
Yeah, I definitely think that has something to do with it, because it's not, like I said, it's not like Colby has a huge chance against him standing up or anything. It's just the wrestling is so good from Colby Covington that I think that's why the lines are close. Because he's plus 124. What's Leon?
Minus 148.
Minus 148. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I'm taking Leon. A lot of people are like, oh no, Colby's going to beat him, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It could be a bias thing, because I don't really want Colby getting the belt. I like Leon. Yeah,
I like him just based off the kick. I saw the kick, and this is the first time that I had even watched Leon Edwards fight. I had known who Kamaru Usman was just because of name recognition alone, and I knew that. I mean that's the dog. That's the dog of the class, and I mean you take down the dog, and he's the belt holder. I always give credit towards the belt holder because it's just you've been there. You know what it takes, and you also kind of, if it goes the distance, I feel like you get that recognition a little bit of like, oh well, let's lean a little bit more. I know it's based off fights, and I mean based off points system, so it's bias into it from judges. I wouldn't imagine is a big factor into it, but I don't know. Like I said, I always give.
God damn, Randy.
I always give credit, towards the belt holder. I mean, in the sense of Adesanya, that was a little bit rough, but also that one didn't even go the distance. So,
well, yeah. Which one? Adesanya's last fight?
Yeah, with Strickland, I thought.
Yeah,
I thought it got called. Oh.
No. All the
highlights I saw from Strickland, he was just beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, he beat the living crap out of Adesanya. Beat the crap out of him. First or second round, he got tagged big time.
Oh no, that's what it was. It went the distance, but because of the first round result,
everybody was like, he seems like that specific punch dazed him the entire time, and I think that's kind of why he lost. He was like, oh crap, this dude can actually touch me, and I can't touch him. He told his corner, he was like, I can't hit him. It was like that. Israel Adesanya said that to his coach, that I can't hit him. That's huge. But like I said, I agree with everybody on that. I think that one punch just dazed him, and honestly probably just scared him. He was like, I don't want to get knocked out by Sean Strickland. The hell? So
you never live that down,
dude. Seriously, he's not gonna live just getting tagged by him like he did. He ain't never gonna live that down.
So there's another fight, another belt guy, Alexander
Pantoja and Brandon Royval.
Yes.
Brandon Royval, I like him. He's a great fighter. I've seen him fight, I believe, 2 times. And I really like him. Honestly, I kind of forgot about him until he started fighting, till he was on this fight card. And I was like, oh, I'm pumped up for this fight. I haven't seen Alexander Pantoja fight other than one time. And they actually fought before, and Pantoja beat him. So that probably has to do with the odds also. What are the odds for that?
Odds are pretty close. It's obviously in Pantoja's favor, minus 175 to plus 145 for Royval. But one thing I noticed was just Royval was up there in the rankings at 2, so a little bit. I can't remember who's at 1, but I have heard of Pantoja's, at least his name and him being that guy in the flyweight class. But also, I'm just not, knowledgeable of the flyweight class, just because I haven't heard very many names in that class as of recent.
Yeah. So I believe Pantoja beat Brandon Moreno.
That's who. Yeah, I know.
Is he number 1?
I can certainly find out. Have you seen? You said you've seen Pantoja fight though.
I've seen Brandon Royval. Yeah, so Brandon Moreno's number 1. Amir Albazi is number 2. Brandon Royval's. Oh, they're tied for 2. How does that happen? Okay.
That's kind of odd because I don't really hear much of. That's another thing. What's gotten me into UFC is like, it's debatable, like rankings wise. Like it's always questionable of like until you see the guys duke it out 1-on-1, and even then you might not even get all your answers from a first 1-on-1 fight. There's a lot of variables in anything. But the one thing I did like about UFC and getting into UFC is there's no ties.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's
no contests, but.
There are ties when so like if it's a 3-round fight or something, and I've seen this happen, like say me and you are fighting, you win the first round, I win the second round, and then it looks like it's going to be my round, so it looks like I'm going to win, but then I poke you for the third time, second time, whatever, really bad. Well, I'll have a point deducted from me and say I win that round. Well, now we're tied. because now that third round is 9-9 because I had that point deducted from me. So then that's a tie. And that's I've seen that happen, I believe, 2 times. That's the only time that ties happen is usually a point deducted, and those suck. I hate when that happens.
Do you think that there should be a point deduction for eye pokes?
I think when it keeps happening, for sure. Sometimes it seems intentional because they'll act like they're going in for a jab or whatever it is, and they'll just straight up poke somebody in the eye. But it happens. It's just one of those things. Apparently, with the fighters say that the gloves like basically bring your hands open, they have to intentionally close their fist. And you'll see that sometimes with the refs. They'll be like, hey, close your hands, to try and prevent that. It just happens. It's just one of those things. But like the knee to the head and all that stuff, they'll, have points deducted for that if the fighter can keep fighting.
Or
stuff like that.
Or if you flop, then fight gets called.
Yeah, but
for that.
Yeah, but in fighting, it's so hard to say whether or not somebody flopped. Aljamain Sterling. But it's just because it's fighting. You can't say, like, if somebody gets hit with a knee, like Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan, you can't be like, oh, well, he's not hurt, blah, blah, blah. No, dude, like, he took a knee to the frickin' temple. But whenever it's 5 minutes of rolling around on the ground, I can't see. That's annoying. Especially to win a belt off of something like that. In my opinion, I don't think anybody should win a belt in a no contest or a tie. And that I could see that happening, eventually. But it would be rare. But there needs to be, for title fights, there needs to be a definite winner. No bullshit of somebody rolling around on the ground for 5 minutes and putting on an Oscar award-winning show and getting the belt off of that. That's just...
Well, also, it's kind of the same thing, like, in the NFL, they have, they obviously have ties in the regular season. It doesn't happen often with the new rules of overtime rules and whatnot. And they've kind of, you don't see them as, you've seen a few in the past, few years, but I agree, in belt fights, it's kind of like playoffs. Where in the playoffs for the NFL, you just keep on going.
Yeah.
Like, you go until there is a winner. You cannot tie for obvious reasons. Because, what do you do in the playoffs if 2 teams tie? Like, one team's got to prepare for whichever team they're going to face the next week.
Right. So especially if that team's the Super Bowl contender, and then you got 2 people that are tied. It's like, okay, well, what? Who moves on? Who goes to the Super Bowl? Playoffs for me with fighters is main cards. If you're on the main card, that's your playoffs. There shouldn't be no contest or anything in something like that. I mean, I get it. Sometimes things happen. Fighters can't go on. No contest. No ties. Screw the ties. There needs to be a winner. But no contest, that's a little different. But
so would you be game for, because I was unaware that there were ties. I may have seen it.
That's when you see the 24-1-1, and if it doesn't have an NC, no contest, that means it was a tie. So you'll see somebody's record 21-4-1 and no NC next to it. That means that was a tie. If it's got an NC, that was no contest, meaning, hey, something happened. Eye poke, fighter couldn't go on. Like Bilal Muhammad fought Leon Edwards. That was a really bad eye poke, and Bilal's eye swole up, and he had to have some. I don't know if he had to have surgery on it or whatever, but that was one of those fights where it was a really bad eye poke. Where okay, yeah, that's a no contest. We can make that happen. That fight should have re-happened, in my opinion. But whatever.
So in those situations, I don't know how this would change the game. I don't know how this would change the sport, but my initial thought is, if it is a tie, say in a 3-round fight, how against the fighting rules or just fan perspective or just fighting fighter stamina or fighter preparedness, I guess, is after 3 rounds, if it's tied, how against it would you be if the judges decided, oh, we got a tie, y'all got to go one more round?
I would love that. I would love for that to happen.
One round, do or die. Like, this is it. Like, this is where we decide a winner. To eliminate ties from the sport, if you get a tie in a 3-round or even a 5-round, and I'd imagine it probably wouldn't be as or in 5-round, it really wouldn't even work because there's no ties in rounds, right? There has to be one winner per round.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, like I said, for there to be a round tied, it would have to be like a point deduction. In a 5-round fight, more than likely, somebody's going to have 3 rounds to 2 rounds on somebody, so it would just come. But then you can have 2 and 2, and then that last round be, point deducted. So I mean, it could still even out. But personally, I would love that rule. That's just me. But the fighters that get the point deducted, or the other fight that gets the point deducted from his opponent, that's the only thing. It would be controversy with the fighters because they'd be like, well, I won that fight because he poked me in the eye or whatever. No, dude, you got your ass kicked for 2 fucking rounds, bro. No. But fighters wouldn't like that. That's just me personally. But from viewers' perspective, that would be the best case scenario, to just add another round. But that's what George St. Pierre wanted to make, was a fight organization that had no rounds. You just went. Fight ended when somebody got knocked out or tapped.
That's hard.
Yo, yeah,
how do you even prepare for that? Because even boxers, they have a set, although it's a lot lengthier, they still have a round number to prepare for. So
and between rounds, you can talk to your coach about changing your style and stuff like that, and be like, okay, well, my coach is seeing this that I'm not seeing, and he's telling me, you don't have rounds? They're going to have to yell that out, and then if your, person that you're fighting, speaks the same language as you or whatever, they're going to hear that. So it's like, oh, okay, well, they know I'm trying to set up a head kick or whatever. All right, I got to change it up. So I think it would be interesting. I think it would be the baddest mofos against the baddest mofos that can do well in something like that. I always thought that would be so cool. I haven't heard anything about it. He mentioned it to Joe Rogan or something like that. But I always thought that would be so cool. But
it would be a cool concept, and I mean, I feel like it would be good for fighters that couldn't make it to the UFC, kind of as, not necessarily an XFL version of the NFL, but it's kind of in that same category of like lower tier guys that couldn't make it up to the UFC, and they're going to go and try and do something else and try to build that brand up. I mean, I'd watch it. I think it'd be great.
I would watch it too.
But I feel like with a professional setting like the UFC, I like how in between rounds, it's kind of like quarters or intermissions where you talk with your coach, hey, let's change up this, let's do this. It's pretty much just a break of action to assess, reevaluate, and then go out there and get the job done. But on the same sense, you add another round, it's OT. Like your coach and you have to prepare for a situation where there might be an OT, just like in other sports, they obviously prepare for 2-minute drills or last second shots, last second plays. Fighters are going to have to. I mean, if this probably has been tossed around in league meetings about doing that sort of thing where you add another round instead of doing ties, and maybe it does happen, maybe it doesn't happen. I'm leaning more on the side of like, if the fighters don't want it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. But, I think that's more of what it would happen and come down to, is that I don't think fighters would want that. Viewers definitely would want that. I think everybody would be like, yeah, screw it, no contest. And honestly, it would help UFC out with rankings. Because if you get a no contest or a tie, okay, well, you don't move up, but you don't move down. That was a complete waste of a fight. You could have, brought 2 other fighters. Not that it's their fault, but brought 2 other fighters just as good and made a good fight card out of it, that somebody comes out a winner and a loser. There has to be a winner and a loser. That's just my opinion, and that shit's aggravating.
Well, it's aggravating because, like you said, it's a loss of a fight on not only the fighter's record, but also just time. Like, I mean, why did I prepare for a dude? And you have to prepare to win and to lose always. That's with anything. But that fighter just prepared for damn near 6 months, sometimes 3 months, for nothing. Like, say they lose, okay, that's the fight, that's the sport you chose, but you still get paired up with a possible dude who you could propel, past and then get back in that same situation. get a no contest, I would imagine it's just like you said, stay at that ranking, and it's.
Yeah.
Who do you fight? Who do you fight?
Well, take Leon and Bilal. Like I said, that was a no contest because of IPO. Leon's champion now. Where's Bilal? Not fighting for the fucking belt. Not fighting for the belt at all, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Bilal's a good fighter, and he hasn't lost a fight. He beat Sean Brady, who was undefeated. Where'd he go? 2?
Bilal is at 2 right now. Sean Brady is at 7 right now.
No matter whether Leon or Colby Covington wins or loses, if Bilal is not fighting for the belt, that's the biggest example of how bullshit the no contest is. Because, again, it's not a loss and it's not a win. It's just stagnant for both of them, and now Leon's fighting. If I was Bilal, I'd be pissed off, dude.
Well, I mean, I'd be pissed because, like you said, it's not a win or a loss, but that's not true at all. It's a loss.
Yeah.
Like, it's not counted as a loss,
Mm-hmm.
but to your, fighting reputation on where I fight next, that it is a loss because you get jumped by guys who won, whether it be a lower tier fight or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Colby Covington's fighting, and that's another thing what I like about the UFC is the number one guy gets his shot, but everybody else still gets their shot.
Yeah, eventually. If they keep winning and keep going up. I mean, shit, we saw that with Sean Strickland. He was like 5 or something fighting Izzy because Izzy had already fought all the other guys other than Dricus Duplessis. Right? Yeah, he fought Jared Cannonier, beat Robert Whitaker.
Vittori.
Yeah, Vittori, which I can't stand that dude. Paulo Costa. Who's that?
He hasn't fight Kamzat, huh? Or has he?
No. Kamzat, no.
Kamzat.
Colby Covington called him Kamzat.
That's so mean.
Yeah, I know,
Also,
but it's
funny.
hilarious. It's hilarious. But that's why I like Colby Covington because the way he talks and shit talks and stuff is so funny. But watching him fight is so boring. I hate watching him fight. But he's entertaining. That's
kind of like Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's just so entertaining. Just to watch. I could go with. I mean, obviously, like the fun of watching Kevin Holland is because of his fights, but like just his personality. Like at 287. I mean, you know the video, like of him walking up to the mom or to the girl in the stands, and the girl was like, "Oh, I love you, Kevin." She's like,
Oh yeah. No. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. He's just so funny. That's just his personality, man. I love when fighters show their personality like that, and that's what makes them fun. Colby Covington's is a little put on, obviously, but he comes up with some funny ass stuff too.
Other guys on the main card that we're looking at, I haven't heard of either of these dudes. I'll be honest with you. Shavkat
Rakhmonov
and Stephen Thompson. It's a 5-6 showdown, but the odds coming out of it are just so skewed in Rakhmonov's favor. Do you know why that is?
Yeah, I mean, Shavkat Rakhmonov is kind of like he's kind of like the Hamzat of that division right now, where he's coming up, he's freaking good, beating the crap out of everybody. Stephen Thompson, he's an older fighter, Wonder Boy. I think he fought for the belt. I think it was Tyron Woodley that he fought for the belt. Can't remember, but he used to be a great fighter. Still is a great fighter. And I love Stephen Thompson, the nicest dude in the world. This dude doesn't like shit talk or anything, but everybody loves him because he's just so nice. It's so funny to watch. But he can knock somebody out, dude. He's got like this Taekwondo karate style where it's kind of like a wide base. Like Conor McGregor, people say that he changed his base and all that stuff. Conor McGregor used to have that wide karate looking style. And that's what he's got because that was his base. Taekwondo or karate, I can't remember. But he's so much fun to watch. But he's not going to win this fight.
He's not?
No.
It's kind of like he kind of sounds like an Andrew Luck where it's like dominant dude on the field, but like anytime and whenever Luck was playing got sacked, he'd always compliment the guy
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Anytime he got taken, hey, good move, 9-9. Like, oh, hey, like that was a great move.
That's funny.
But then like he dot him up for another 300
Yeah,
yards and then
yeah.
win the game for him. So
Yeah.
so why don't you think that it's just because Rachmanov is that dominant?
Rachmanov is the real deal, dude. I don't personally like him personality wise. I think he's just kind of boring, and I think that has to do with a lot of
The language barrier. But he's so good. His last fight, what was his last fight? Can you look that up real quick?
He is 17-0, so that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty competitive.
And that's yeah, like you said, that's pretty damn good. His last fight,
And he's another up and comer as well.
yeah, for UFC at least. Who was his last fight?
His last fight was with it was supposed to be with Kelvin Gastelum, but that one got canceled. I guess on Gastelum's part. But then he fought Jeff Neal.
Oh yeah.
And, that was back in March. So, oh my gosh, close to 9 or so months now.
That was a good fight. It was a weird fight though because it went on a lot longer than it should have on Rachmanov's part. It was you
went to the last round also.
Yeah, right. So that was one of those fights where it's like, okay, well, he's up and coming. He's supposed to be this badass dude, whatever. And it goes, like you said, to the last round with Jeff Neal, who's kind of old, kind of coming down. And it's like, okay. I mean, Jeff Neal's not no slouch or anything. But it was just one of those fights where it's like, okay, well, I guess he's not as good as we thought. Like Hamzat with Gilbert Burns, where everybody thought he was just going to run through Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert freaking put it on him. And that's when everybody was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's definitely got, some holes in his game and stuff like that. It was kind of like that. But I think this fight against Stephen Thompson is going to be an easier fight than Jeff Neal, personally, just because of how wide of a stance Stephen Thompson has. I think that's going to open him up really, really easily to get taken down and submitted. So that's just me personally.
So Rachmanov's more of a submission type because I'm looking at his.
He's got it all, honestly.
I'm looking at his last 5 fights, and 4 of them ended in submission with one KO against what is that? Is that Curtis Harris? I believe. Carlson Harris.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't watch that fight, but yeah.
Chris Curtis.
No, he's definitely good on the ground for sure, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's just going to take him down or put him up against the fence. If I was Stephen Thompson, back that dude up the entire time. Have Rachmanov against the fence. If you get taken down, you're in the middle of the octagon. He can't press you up against the cage or anything like that. But that was. When he fought Tyron Woodley, talking about Thompson right now. When he fought Tyron Woodley, he lost that fight because he couldn't get off the ground from Tyron Woodley just pressing him against the cage and taking him down and stuff. And that was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, we're gonna take Stephen Thompson to the ground every fight from now on because everybody realized, oh my God, he is just not good on the ground.
So primary, oh my gosh, I'm looking at a picture of him right now. This dude looks like straight off of Hollywood.
Yeah, he's a good looking dude, man. He's got that sharp chin.
Well, sharp chin. I'm looking at his face. It's all like
symmetrical. yeah. He's a good looking dude, but
and his last fight got canceled too on the other guy's.
Yeah, who was he supposed to fight?
He was supposed to fight. Oh my gosh, I just had it pulled up, but. He was supposed to fight
Vicente Luque, wasn't it?
Michelle Pereira.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that would have been such a good fight. What happened? Did he miss? Oh, he missed weight. That's what it was.
Michelle Pereira.
I think, I'm pretty sure he missed weight, and that was the controversy with it. Stephen Thompson still wanted his money, and just some money issues right there.
He's a decision guy, too, which is starkly different from Rachmanov's last fights.
Yeah, but see how he fights? That wide stance, all that stuff like that. He's a good fighter. He doesn't punch hard or anything like that. But dude, he's like Izzy, where he's precise. If he's hitting you,
He knows exactly where he's hitting.
He's going to hit you on the
designated
temple or chin, whatever it is. He's going to hit you where you need to be. But he's not. He doesn't have that power, man, and that's what kind of sucks. But that's just genetics or whatever. Some people hit like a freaking freight train. Some people hit like a pillow. Look, he's fighting Kevin Holland right there. That was a good fight.
That was his last fight. That
was a good fight.
Won by TKO in the final. In the final round, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But most of his stuff, I mean, starkly different from Rachmanov's last fights, where outside of his last fight, most of, or if not all of Rachmanov's fights have ended via submission in the first or second round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that makes sense also why the line is so skewed in Rachmanov's favor.
Yeah. That's one of those fights where a lot of them I'm just kind of like, I don't know, it could go either way, you know. This one, I don't see Stephen Thompson winning. But again, like we had talked about, it takes one shot. It takes one good shot on the button to just knock this dude out, plain and simple.
But like you said, it's Steve. I mean, yes, like he said also that most of, if not all of Stephen Thompson's hits are precise, but if you ain't got the power.
Right. And he's young too.
Can just hit.
Shavkat Rachmanov is young. I don't think he's been hit a ton, which is good for him. So he can probably take a good shot. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't see Stephen Thompson winning.
I didn't realize Stephen Thompson was so old. He's 40 years old.
Yeah, he's old. Yeah.
And Rachmanov is 29.
Yeah, he's young. He's in his prime, if not getting to his prime. He's good, man. That'll
be a fight I'd be interested in. In the last fight of the main card, Vicente Luque versus Ian Machado.
Yeah, so we had talked about it a little bit before, but have you heard the drama between Ian Gary and all that stuff?
I have not.
So
I've heard Ian Gary's name been tossed around in like circles. I just wasn't sure why I was hearing about this dude.
So Ian Machado Gary. Machado is a Brazilian name. Machado family is a Brazilian mixed martial arts family known for jiu-jitsu, stuff like that. They're kind of like the Gracies, you know, it's one of those names where everybody wants to have that name because it's recognition. Well, he married this chick that he's married to right now, Brazilian lady. I think she's like in her 30s or 40s, and he's in his 20s. Like it's a 13 year. I think it's like that's part of the drama.
But he makes the money.
That's part of the drama. So this dude took his wife's name. His wife's name is from her ex-husband, who's his nutritionist. Yeah. So Ian Machado Gary. So you'll see this a lot with women in professional careers. They'll keep their name because that's, you know, they started their professional career with their name, and then they'll take the guy's last name, but to stay with their professional name, they'll add, you know, if I was to marry a girl, it'd be, you know, whatever, Shults, whatever. That's what he did. Ian Machado Gary. He took her name. From
his nutritionist, actually.
From his nutritionist name. So.
You can't even do that. Like, well, I mean, I guess you can.
She legally changed her name.
But yeah, that's what I mean.
To Machado.
That's what I mean. You can do that legally, but like, you really can't do that.
Dude, it's so weird. And so then there was a rumor.
He's Irish?
Yeah, he's Irish with a Brazilian last name. Okay? So this girl, 40-something years old, 30-something years old, whatever it is, 13-year age gap, okay? Over 10 years, okay? This dude, or this chick, wrote a book on how to be a wag, okay? She's on the front cover. You know what a wag is?
No.
It's it stands for something. I forgot what it's called. But basically, it's an older woman taking advantage of a young, up-and-comer professional athlete and takes their money. That's what... She wrote a book on how to be a wag.
She's 40.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
She's 40 years old.
So now everybody's like, oh, dude, you're a cuck and all this stuff. And there was a rumor that his nutritionist, her ex-husband, lives with them. I don't know how true that is, but if that's true,
it makes the whole situation even weirder. He's got a baby with this chick.
She can have kids?
Yeah. He's got like a 1 or 2 year old child.
Does he know it's his?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'm not trying to start tea or anything, but it kind of sounds like this chick.
She's taking advantage of him.
She got married to the nutritionist, knowing that, nutritionists, especially in the UFC, probably make a good deal. They
if they're good, they know what they're doing.
But it's night and day compared to if the guy who your nutritionist is training is good in the UFC. Mm-hmm. That's like comparing 1 to 100, I would imagine. Like you can be making probably, a really good nutritionist, probably 6 figures, I would say.
Yeah.
Really good UFC fighter, I don't know pays. I know you sign contracts for fights. I know for damn sure you're probably in the millions, at least. Some
of them. Well, Ian Gary's probably not there just yet, but
no,
he probably will be.
Yeah.
He's not no slouch. He's a good fighter, and that dude's
26, going into his prime.
Yeah. So that's the drama with it. He was getting into Sean Strickland about it. Sean Strickland was like, "Hey man, I just DM'd you, like trying to help a brother out, and this, that, and that." And apparently, like, Ian Gary DM'd him back, like saying that he was gonna sue him for harassment and blah blah blah. And
that's like, what a dude does when he knows he'd get his teeth kicked in, especially whenever it's Sean Strickland talking to you. And I've only known Sean Strickland and his name and whatnot since he beat Adesanya, and I've seen a bunch of videos come out of him. He's crazy.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's a psycho.
He's American South, like psycho, like that. And I've lived here all my life. That's psycho.
He went on Joe Rogan's podcast saying that he wants to know what it feels like to kill a person. The dude literally wants to kill somebody to see what it feels like. The dude's crazy.
But
then now he's saying, "Oh well, I'm gonna sue you for harassment or whatever."
That dude doesn't give a shit. Sue him. Win or lose, he don't care. He's going to keep talking.
I'll write my name on the check and I'll write a pamphlet about all my opinions on why your marriage is a sham.
It's so funny. I think I sent it to y'all one time.
Well, I was curious what it was because I had heard him talking about it in the video, and I'm like, who is he talking about?
He's talking about Ian Gary.
He's going in on this guy.
Yeah, it was so funny. It's so funny. But, I mean, he is a good fighter. Personally, I can't stand the dude. He's an asshole. Just plain and simple. Last guy fought Neil Magny. Neil Magny said something, I'm going to punish you like I punished my child and smack the shit out of you, whatever it was. And everybody was like, oh, okay, smack your kids or whatever. That's probably not a good thing to say. And then he just like took it and ran with it for the entire week. Over and over and over. Oh, you smack your child, blah, 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 blah. It was so bad that Neil Magny just came out with a statement saying that he's fighting a custody battle with his ex-wife or something for his kids because of what he was saying.
That's the crazy part about this world that we live in now. That cancel culture and all that can get you. Like, I had recently saw some lady on Twitter, and she a while back had posted a video. I forget what she was talking about, but it was pretty much expressing like toxic masculinity and this and that. She was like a registered psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. And look, do I believe in all that? Man, not really. But I mean, we live in America. It's freedom of speech. Yeah. We're allowed to do what we're doing. Mm-hmm. They should be allowed to do what she's doing on Twitter, whether I agree with it or not. Well, she got canceled for it, lost her job, and in the process of all that, also released videos of how OnlyFans is destroying young women, about how like that's destroying the concept of the female image, and like was strictly against that. Got canceled for that too. Lost a bunch of her stuff. Came out recently. She got an OnlyFans. So now everybody.
You're kidding.
Now everybody's dogging her for that. And I agree. Like, you're kidding. You're gonna stand on that platform and then you're gonna get off. Like, like if you got an opinion, stick to your guns. Yeah. Like, as long as it's not beating your child, obviously,
right? Yeah.
Or anything like detrimental to society. Mm-hmm. But I kind of like the first comment I saw on it was, y'all canceled this woman out of her profession. What do you want her to do?
Yeah, that's true.
Her name's plastered everywhere, and it's kind of like with the reverting back to Neil Magny, that because of this, he's fighting a custody battle.
Yeah.
Because what everybody is saying online is becoming reality.
Like, and it was really him. And when it was happening, everybody was like, dude, like, chill out, bro. Like, he didn't mean it like how you're taking it. Like, everybody was on Neil Magny's side. I forgot what it was, but I watched it was a fight conference or whatever, and I was just like, it wasn't, what he said wasn't even like that big of a deal, and Ian Gary just turned it into something that was just like not even closely related to what he was saying. I forgot what he said. I wish I could quote it, but it was like, it was one of those things where if he didn't run with it, nobody would have even batted an eye at it. It wasn't even this big of a threat or anything like that. Ian Gary just needed something to go after him for, because Neil Magny's known as a guy that's super nice. All the fighters love him. Everybody likes working with him and stuff like that. And he just took it and ran with it because he needed to turn the people against him or whatever. Because people thought he was going to lose that fight.
What, with
against Neil Magny?
Really?
Yeah. Which he didn't. He beat the crap out of him. But that was another fight where it was like, okay, dude, like, you're supposed to be this big bad wolf or whatever. Dude never did anything. It went to decision. There were several times, like 2 or 3 times, where he had Neil Magny hurt. Just didn't do anything with it. It's like playing with him and stuff. Like, dude, you're a fighter. You're not. You
want to talk all that junk? Put it on the mat.
Yeah, it was so aggravating watching the fight. And after that fight, I turned into Ian Machado Gary hater, because I just don't like the dude personally. He's a great fighter, but he's a shitbag.
He's a massive favorite to win this fight.
Yeah, Vicente Luque is kind of going downhill a little bit. I don't know what's going on with him, but I would love for Vicente Luque to win against him and honestly knock him out. That would be awesome.
Especially because he's Brazilian.
Is he?
He is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He's
Brazilian. That would be awesome, dude.
So we'll transition a little bit into like our pick v pick in a second, where, you know, I pick a bet, and then you have to go with it, and you pick a bet, and I have to go with it. But that's when you were telling me the story of Ian Machado, Gary, and all that nonsense. Immediately what stuck out to me was Luque was Brazilian. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, dude's a massive underdog. There's no way he's not hearing this. Like, there's no way he's not aware of this situation.
I can't wait till the press conference.
Like, I want to see this dude go berserk. And I will put I'm going to pair him with Rachmanov. I'll parlay it with Rachmanov money line. And then I will wait to see the lines a little bit on Leon Edwards. I want to see that play out. I kind of want to put a KO bet on that from either side. I don't think it goes to submission. I think it's either going to be KO or decision.
For this fight?
For Leon Edwards.
Okay.
So I'm gonna wait for that part of the parlay. I want to do a 3-legger. Luque money line. I'm sold.
Yeah,
I'm sold on it.
Me too.
I want it. I will will it to happen. If I lose money off of it, so be it. But I want to see this dude go berserk.
Me too. I genuinely, I hope he beats the living crap out of Ian Gary. I really do. Just because he sucks as a person. He sucks as a person.
But as we've seen with athletes, you can be a horrible person and boy be it. I mean, we're seeing it with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is one of the best wide receivers in the league, and he is actively open about the fact that he punches his child in the chest.
What?
You never heard about that?
No.
Oh yeah, that came out like earlier this year. Like that and it came out again like previously, like a year ago, that like punches his kid in the chest. Like,
damn.
His kid's not old either. Like
a young kid.
We're talking under 10. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
He also came out saying he wanted to be a porn star. Wasn't
yeah, which look, freedom of speech. You can do what you want. I'm not going to agree with it. That's a weird thing to say, especially with the money that he's making. Like,
yeah.
But I mean,
he'd be doing that for fun, I guess.
Best wide receiver in the league generally, and he punches his kid in the chest. So no. I mean, Kareem Hunt, a while, like, whenever he was with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, domestic violence. Joe Mixon. Like,
Yeah,
we can go on and on, about dominant dudes, like, and they're just assholes.
Yeah.
Like,
we're
seeing it right now in the NBA also. Miles Bridges. You ever heard about who Miles Bridges is?
I know who he is.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
So he has a kid with his baby mama, and came out that he abused his kid. Came out that he actively, physically beat the shit out of his wife or baby mama.
Damn.
Got suspended. No, didn't even get suspended. Got waived from the team because the league didn't do anything. Sat out all of last year. The NBA didn't suspend him. Nobody just picked him up. Hornets re-signed him, and now he's back in the league.
Wow.
No problems with the NBA, who also, put a 25-game suspension on John Morant. Now, that's a whole nother discussion. But brandishing a gun and beating your baby mama and your kid, I would imagine, are two different, punishments. And I'm sorry, should be out of the league. He's an NBA player, though, so he's really good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just crazy. You get that much reputation, you get that much, ego in your head, and you become invincible.
It's a privilege of being famous and being good at what you're doing.
Well, that's the thing. If he was a bench warmer, damn well he would be out of the league.
Yeah.
I mean, just how it is. When you're good, you get the backing of the populace because what you put out on the mat or the court, on the field, beats out any allegations of if you and I ever beat up somebody, we'd be sitting in jail.
Right. Yep.
It's interesting stuff, but we'll close it out on that because I know we got to get going soon. But my pick, I'm going Rachmanov, outright. I'll probably wait also a little bit to see because I would probably put a sub bet on him, like submission, ending in submission.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll wait a little bit on the Leon Edwards, but outright, I'd probably stay true with that. Edwards, I would say, is going to win this fight. And then I'll put my money on Luque, man.
Really?
F it, man.
I
think it'll boost the numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it'll boost the parlay numbers for sure. We're looking probably around plus 400 odds, maybe plus 600
plus
odds.
285.
If I had to guess, it's plus 400 to plus 600 odds. You put $1, you win $6. Like, I'll take those any day.
Those odds are going to get worse as the fight goes on, too.
So he's plus 285 coming out the gate.
You think that he's going to go like plus 3 closer? Or do
Oh,
you think
yeah.
really?
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes plus 400.
Really? They really don't think that he's going to win this fight?
Because the hype around Ian Gary. That's why. Vicente's kind of going downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like 50-50, Vicente. And then Ian Gary, everybody's like... I mean, even me. I mean, he's a good fighter. I see him winning this fight, but my heart wants Vicente to win so bad. And he's got a shot. Dude can punch, man. Like, he hits hard. I don't think he's fast enough compared to Ian Gary. That's just me. Gotcha. So that's why I think those odds are going to just get better and better for Ian Gary and get worse and worse for Vicente Luque. If you put money on Vicente Luque, I'd do it the night before. Yeah, or the day of. That's just me personally. Just wait. It's like waiting on stock. You just wait. You just wait it out. Wait it out. Yeah. So
yeah, my final, pick v pick. That it actually a pick v pick. You gotta take it.
Yeah.
So
I was taking it no matter what.
Okay, so I'm giving you
because the odds are they're going to be so bad for Ian Gary that even if he does win, you win like 25 cents or whatever off of like $1 bet or something like that. Like it's not really that worth it. I'm trying to make money, not cents.
Oh no. Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I throw in like you get Rachmanov, the money line.
Oh yeah.
You get Leon Edwards, and I'll wait to see that line. I'm gonna see if they're gonna go a little bit in Colby Covington's direction because you see that line so close. So I'll pair those two up, and then I'll throw in to boost the odds the Luque bet. So all three starting out just because this is the information we're given so far. Money line bets. I don't have the numbers pulled up, but we're probably looking at, I'd have to guess about plus 400, I would say.
Maybe. I don't know. But me personally, I'm going money line, parlay. I'm going Leon, Pantoja. Who's the fight after?
It's Leon, Pantoja, and
Rachmanov.
Thompson.
Then who else?
And then we got Ferguson, Pimblett, and then Luke Gary.
See, that's the only thing is like if you bet just a favorite, I think if any of them lose, it's going to be Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett. That screws your night over.
Oh yeah.
That's just me because I truly don't know who to pick for Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett. I think Paddy Pimblett gets it done personally. But, man, that's the only one where I'd be like, yeah, if anybody's going to screw anybody's night over on this parlay, it's going to be Tony Ferguson screwing Paddy Pimblett bet over.
Which is so funny because Pimblett, as we talked about, is a minus 340 favorite.
Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, that's me. I'd be taking probably Paddy if we're, being honest. And then I'm going Ian Gary if I'm just doing favorites and who I genuinely think is going to win. But it's fighting. You can't bet just favorites because there's going to be an upset. There's always an upset in fighting in some way, shape, or form against favorites. I don't think I've ever seen a main card go just favorites.
So pulling it up on FanDuel, and all the lines that we've said are based off of, I believe it's Caesars that UFC has partnered with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not FanDuel because FanDuel has a little bit changing odds.
Mm-hmm.
But pulling it up on FanDuel, Rachmanov is actually a minus 670 favorite.
Wow.
Luque is a plus 250 favorite. So I would try to skew that to whichever way you kind of want. It's a little bit worse odds than what they're presenting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Edwards is a minus 138. Which, if you pair all those together, you're looking at plus 593, which putting $10 on it gets you $59.
Nice.
So, not bad.
That'd be a good little night.
And then what you giving me?
Personally, I think
Leon Edward gets it done in decision. Pantoja, I think, will win either decision or TKO. Not fully sure. I'm gonna watch their fights and try and figure that one out closer
to the fights. And then did I miss somebody? Who was that? The second fight, Yeah, because that's for the belt.
The third fight is.
I'm going Rachmanov TKO or not TKO submission. Paddy Pimblett decision, and then probably Ian Gary TKO or knockout. That's what I would do.
You give me a full line.
That's what I got personally.
Just going off money lines, we're looking at plus 401. So $1 to win 4, not bad.
Yeah,
or 10
not too bad.
10 to win 40.
Yeah. But I'm gonna make that bet, and then I'm gonna do what my heart is telling me.
What's your heart?
My heart is telling me Leon. Heart is telling me Pantoja, Rachmanov, Tony, and Vicente. That's what I got. That's just me personally. I would like to see those two upsets at the bottom of the card. I would love to see Vicente win, and I would love to see Tony Ferguson win. So we'll see.
We'll see. We've been going for like an hour. I didn't even.
Have we really?
It. Yeah, we've been going for a little over.
Wow,
an hour
that's
now.
almost 5.
I know. That's why I said we kind of did.
Yeah, I know. We got some dinner to go to.
We got some dinner and some marks. Get going. Watch the fight night tonight. We're recording this on December the 9th. We'll get it out before the fights, obviously. But next pod, I'll be on talking about Zydeco, what they did against the Bobcats this past weekend, and then we'll go a little bit more into UFC on a later date. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about golf with the John Rahm situation, him joining LIV after being very, very against those. It's very much stating, I want to play against the best.
Yeah.
So that will be all in due time. And next time, as usual, I am your host, Brock Sanders, with my UFC connoisseur, Jamie Shults. And we are signing off on Bunker Sports, where we give controversial takes from a secluded place. Peace out.